Friends, please be seated. Imagine standing in a valley like this, full of dry bones. Not recently dead, not bodies that you might recognize. These are bones that have been there a long time. They are very dry. They are scattered. They are bleached by the sun. No breath, no movement, no hope. And God says to Ezekiel, he asks a question: can these bones live? Not can you fix them. Not can you put these back together. Just can these bones live? And Ezekiel gives the only honest answer. Oh Lord, you know. Because standing in that valley, there is nothing in Ezekiel that can make life happen. And that's the point. God does not say to him, Ezekiel, rebuild them. God does not say to him, Ezekiel, engineer something new. God says, prophesy. Speak. Speak to the bones. Speak to what is dead. Speak a word that you cannot make happen yourself. Which raises the question for us today: what are we being asked to do that we cannot cause? What are we being asked to do that we cannot cause? Because most of us, when we find ourselves in a valley like that, when something in our lives feel dry, finished, beyond repair, we do not speak. We do not speak. We try to fix. We try to reassemble. We try to hold things together. We try to make life happen. There's a story about that. A scientist gathers pieces from a graveyard. Bits of what once had life. He assembles them carefully, intelligently, even brilliantly. And then he forces life into what he has made. And what emerges is not life. It moves. It breathes. It looks like a body, but it is not alive. It is something else. Something distorted. Something he cannot control. Because when we try to create life on our own terms, we do not get resurrection, we get something else. If we're honest, we do this all the time. We try to hold together relationships that have no life left in them. We try to preserve versions of ourselves that are already gone. We try to control outcomes beyond our control. We try to assemble something that looks like life but has no breath in it. We do it all the time here in the church. Right? We hold on to ministries that no longer give life. We polish structures that are quietly fading. We try as best as we can to engineer vitality and pretend as if sustained life can be produced by efforts alone, by mere proficient organizational management, or by implementing a better financial plan, or by getting a better priest. If only we had one who called the children and the young people like he did in the days of old, we would have 35, 45, 75 kids in our youth group. If only he were young enough and hip enough and cool enough and preached under 12 minutes, man, we would bring people in like nobody's business. But God does not ask Ezekiel to build life, offer better programs, y'all, or employ best practices. God asks him to speak, to trust, and to participate. To participate in something totally out of his control. And as Ezekiel speaks, something begins to happen. There is a sound. There is a rattling. Bone come to bone. Structure begins to form. But notice, even then, it is not yet life. It looks like a body, but there is still no breath. Because structure is not the same as life. And then God says, mortal, prophesy to the breath. And from the four winds, breath enters, and they live. Now hold that image. Because John's gospel, we are taken to yet another place of death, a tomb. A man named Lazarus has been dead 4 days. There are a few doctors in the house. You know what that looks like. You know what that smells like. We're talking dead. Not recently passed. Not dead-ish. Dead, y'all. And Jesus doesn't go to the tomb to reconstruct Lazarus. No. He stands outside the tomb. He does not go in, and he calls, Lazarus, come out. He does not assemble life. He summons it. He does not manufacture the breath. He speaks, and life answers. Which brings us back to the question that we have been unfolding all throughout Lent. Out of the deep I call unto thee, O Lord. Out of the deep we call unto thee, O Lord. We began this season by asking what lives in our depths, the beliefs we carry, the strategies we trust. And then we asked, what does clarity around those beliefs help us to see? And now we arrive here, in this valley, at this tomb, at the edge of something even more difficult, because the question of Lent is not whether or not we believe in God. The question is whether we believe God can bring life out of what we had already given up for dead. Because if we don't believe that, then we will endeavor to try to do it ourselves. We will build. We will control. We will assemble. We will produce something that looks alive, but has no breath in it. And so here at the threshold of Holy Week, here is the invitation of this moment. To stop trying to create life where only God can give it. To stand in the valley. To stand at the tomb. And to speak, not out of certainty, but out of trust. Because the deepest places in our lives are not where hope dies. They are where God begins. And that does not mean that we don't do anything, okay? Ezekiel speaks. Jesus calls. We participate. But we don't control the outcomes. We don't control the outcomes. We don't generate the life. We don't bring the breath. We have no control. And that terrifies us. Because it means, church, letting go. It means surrender to the truth of what actually is. It means allowing something to actually be dead. It means releasing what we have been desperately trying to hold together. It is the only way resurrection happens. So here is the question that brings us right to the edge of Holy Week. Where are you trying to hold together something that no longer has life in it? Where are you trying to do only what God can do? Where in your life are you assembling monsters? Out of the deep we call unto God. And the astonishing claim of this gospel is that sometimes the deepest places in our lives are exactly where God begins bringing the dead back to life. And in a few moments, we will come to this table and we will do something very simple. We will take bread. We will take wine. We will speak words that have been spoken for centuries. And we will not make anything happen. We will receive. Because this table is not something we assemble into life. It is where God meets us and gives it.